102 scientific disciplines have spent over 600,000 hours of scientific study on the Shroud of Turin. And the great majority of them have concluded the shroud is indeed 2,000 years old.
First off, simply just listing 102 disciplines that have studied the Shroud of Turin in a vague way tells us literally nothing. We don't know if any of these disciplines have any relevance to studying an artifact like the Shroud. It's a classic apologist tactic to vaguely reference the evidence and then just appeal to large numbers in order to convince their audience. They seem to think that this somehow implies a scientific rigor that most people expect for facts. I highly doubt his numbers here on multiple levels. I doubt the number of scientific disciplines that have analyzed this shroud, as well as whether or not any of these disciplines have any direct relationship to analyzing an artifact like the shroud. But I also doubt this monumental amount of time he claims has spent on studying the shroud. Really? 600,000 hours? I'm sorry, Dr. Jeremiah Johnston, you can't just throw large numbers at us and expect us to eat it up. And before we get more into Johnston's video here, I do want to lay out exactly how much of an uphill battle he is fighting. We can only accurately date the shroud back to 1354 France. And even then, it was denounced by a local bishop as a forgery. We'll get more into that later. Now, if that wasn't problematic enough, the 1988 radiocarbon study that was done by 3 independent labs actually dated the shroud to between 1260 and 1390 CE, which matches up to when the shroud first entered the historical record. The majority of peer-reviewed studies on the Shroud of Turin suggest that it cannot be dated earlier than the late 13th century. But sure, let's say that the shroud actually is 2,000 years old. That doesn't mean that it's Jesus's burial shroud or that the image that's on the shroud was produced magically. But let's be real here, the shroud simply cannot be dated to the 1st century of the Common Era. But even if we could, it proves nothing about the death or even the resurrection of Jesus.